Ideas, stories, events, all have a place here on Anchor. Music, instruction, therapy, all have a place here on Anchor. How to, where to, must do, all have a place here on Anchor. New talent, old talent, future talent, all have a place here on Anchor. No charge, no fee, no subscription.
Oh, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary. Pour a cheerful toast and fill it, happy anniversary. But be careful you don't spill it, happy anniversary. Oh, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary.
You're listening to the WR Podcast. Let freedom ring. Simple talk on current events with a little bit of how you would say a punk rock attitude. This is season 2 of the WR Podcast. Let freedom ring. More insightful, more delightful, and more punk rock attitude.
I don't have a political or geopolitical science degree, or a news journalist background, or even worked as a contributor or an editor for a newspaper column or publication or website. I'm your average person with an ear to the ground, eyes to the world, asking the simple questions with an ever love for educating myself with an unbiased opinion. I'm a realist and with a touch of fire to shake things up when some things or someone needs to be checked.
Like to punch him in the face.
So come on board to the WR Podcast, Let Freedom Ring, where I talk current events, speak optimistically, and give you a slice of crude humor. Hey, we all need to smile and laugh every now and then. The following is intended only for mature audiences. Your discretion is advised. It's been a year today since I started this podcast, and the first episode was called Social Distance, the New Norm. Ugh, I cringe on that. We don't want it to be a norm. I wasn't sure what the direction would be, how I would take it. I knew since COVID was all the stir, I wanted to do some form of documentation. So before the fancy equipment, I would just spark up the phone, and as I would walk to my car, narrate what I saw on the streets. And it was unreal, it was surreal, all of the above. It was like a movie. Practically no one in broad daylight outside. Stores were closing or closed. No one was on the highways. So as I drove to work and documented what I saw, I thought to myself, how long could this last? How long? I also witnessed how the elected officials were getting surely drunk with power, telling the American people not to go out and interact with other people. Do not go to the stores. Do not go to the movies. Do not go to the restaurants. Do not see your friends. Do not see your family because you will die. Maybe not in that exact or in those exact words, but pretty much that's what they were implying and implementing. You go out, you kill grandma. Or so that was the main message. This was the virus of all viruses. Or was it? Did it really come from bats or from a lab in Wuhan, man-made? It would take us years for a vaccine, putting all hope in despair. Or so, that's what they kept on saying. Once again, putting all hope in despair. Schools began to close. Graduations on hold. Weddings on hold. Vacations on hold. Doctor's appointments also on hold. Loneliness set in. Depression began. And suicides committed. The outrage was apparent, and voices began to feel rage, and pushback was just the beginning.
I've said from day one, for the years I've gotten everything right. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy. The reason I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, it's in your grill. You don't have to know conspiracy. It's up in your face. It's in your face. But I also don't believe in any coincidences. There are no coincidences. Okay? The reason you're at home with no money, no job, no pension fund, no sports, you can't go out on a beautiful spring day, you got to wear a mask in the nation's capital, in the capital of the greatest democracy in the history of mankind, we have to wear masks when you're sitting there talking. Do you understand in future times you're going to look back how humiliating that is to a free people? And I'm not arguing the health issues here. I'm saying the symbolism is this is kowtowing to the Chinese Communist Party. And no, it's the reverse of racism. To have that firewall up supported by American technology and American money so that the people in China, who's a 4,000-year-old civilization, can't freely communicate on the internet with anybody, that's the racism. The racism is that, they don't really know how to handle themselves. That's why they have to have a dictatorship. That's why we look the other way. We look the other way because they have to have a dictatorship because they can't possibly, 1.4 billion Chinese, they can't possibly govern themselves. Have you looked at Hong Kong? Those kids in Hong Kong are the same as the Patriots in 1775, and all of us should be humiliated that we did not back them up more. They just put the top 20 guys in prison. Not one peep from the United States. We're all going to be held accountable for this. We're all going to be weighed and measured on this. We're all going to be judged on this. And don't blame your political leaders. Blame yourself. Now, all the information's out there. You have no excuse at all not to understand this. And I tell you what, is every time in our history, in the Revolution, in the Civil War, in Depression, World War II, when the American people turn, they're the most unstoppable force in the history of mankind. The resolved mind of a free people not only has done the right thing, it succeeded in doing the right thing. We should be ashamed of ourselves that we've allowed it to get into this situation. Don't talk to me about the models and the this, and you got to unlock. Yes, we have to do all that. But we've lost our way, and here's how we lost it. We allowed our institutions, the financial institutions on Wall Street, the corporate institutions, the public education institutions, we allowed them all to get in business with a dictatorship that enslaved people and used that slave labor to increase their profits and destroyed the working class people in this country. That's why Donald J. Trump is the 45th president of the United States. And that's why Joe Biden, if the Democrats want to put up Joe Biden, then put up Joe Biden. And I'm not talking about his sexual harassment of the girl. I'm not talking about the young woman. I'm not talking about how he's not with the program after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm talking about Obama appointed him to be the guy in charge of the pivot to Asia, and he's totally and completely compromised by the Chinese Communist Party. Not even his dirtbag son taking all the money from him. I'm talking about him personally. He misled us time and time and time again. And to the day, and to the moment, on January 31st of this year, when President Trump said, hey, I think we got to stop the flights coming in for China, Biden, as a free man, chose to back the Chinese Communist Party on their party line. You're a xenophobe, you're a nativist, you're a racist. That was Joe Biden. He had a free choice at that time. And what did he do? He backed the Nazis. He backed the dictators. Every death, Biden, would have been on your hands if we had done what you wanted to do. You're not acceptable. You do not meet the standards to be the commander-in-chief when we are in a war with the Chinese Communist Party, an information war and a hot economic war. And it's a disgrace to the Democratic Party that you went through a primary and never brought this topic up in the mainstream, in Rachel Maddow, in MSNBC, in CNN. We are very comfortable about how history is going to judge us, okay? We're very comfortable about that. We'll be weighed and measured just like you. We're very comfortable what side of the football we're on, the Chinese people. We'll return with the Chinese people and their confrontation with the CCP in just a moment.
People should not be afraid of their governments. government should be afraid of their people.
And as the weeks and the months of frustration passed by, we began to realize who it attacked the most: the sick, the vulnerable, the compromised, the elderly, not the healthy. Closing everything down was an economic disaster. Several elected officials did nothing but run their cities bankrupt. And shaming the American people for living. I myself started to feel the rage in one of my episodes when I couldn't stand it anymore. So all we want is to live our lives without being judged and verbally persecuted because we didn't comply to other ways or ways put in by fear. But no one has the right to shame and say you're going to kill us all with your ways because you're selfish, because you have a brain, because you have research, because you have asked the questions, and you did everything, every damn thing you possibly could to be safe and be conscious of others. Well, God damn it, I'm a human being. I'm not an animal on a leash waiting for my owner to walk me, or some farm animal locked up in a cage or stall waiting for my master to feed me and let me out whenever the hell he feels like it, or to be told what to do and train like some circus freak animal to obey and do frivolous tricks just to get rewarded by some mere treats. Can't you see what's happening here? As long as fear is instilled in all of us, we remain in their power. They think they are the irreplaceable and that we are the expendables. They, the so pretentious, treat us like we are less than. We have to push back, not to push back because we want confrontation, but because we want the right information. Not because we want to fight, but because we want what's right. Not because we want to retaliate, but because we want this nation great. Don't scare us. Don't frighten us. And don't threaten us. Because fear is not your friend.
You're listening to the WR podcast, Let Freedom Ring. Simple talk on current events with a little bit of how you would say a punk rock attitude. With your host, Will Ramos.
And if the virus wasn't bad enough, we had to deal with something even more. The George Floyd death. In one of my episodes, Professional Protesters and Hypocrites, I spoke about the First Amendment. Yes, we do have the right to gather and assemble and protest in peace. Say what you will about the government. Fine. But don't destroy and burn half the country down. That is not in the Constitution, and that is not in the First Amendment. Nowhere in the amendments. People are angry. People are enraged. This man lost his life by a disgraceful police officer. We all know this, and we all agree on this. And as we speak, the trials are going. And I hope this guy gets locked away for life, and the rest of them get locked away for life. Because if it doesn't, prepare for more burning down. And as I began building the podcast, during that course, we also spoke about defunding the police, how that was an outrage, how the cities were burning and the elected officials didn't do anything about it, and how President Trump wanted to help out and they did not want to because they felt that it was a sign of weakness and they could handle it. But they obviously cannot handle it because now with this $1 trillion package that we're getting, it seems like those cities are being bailed out again by the American taxpayer. So as I was going on through the podcast, I wanted to get more creative. Yes, the political thing was something I like. At the same time, I wanted to do more current events. So as time went on, we spoke about what was happening and this, and the third.